Hello everyone, this is David. Welcome back to another video. In this video I'm going to show you how to build an NES style controller on a breadboard that you can use with your FPGA designs. Alright, to test the functionality of the breadboard controller, I created this demo project so that we can ensure it works. And so I have the NES controller.v file in here, and now this one is an updated file by myself because I was having issues with, while I was pressing the right button on the controller, the A button was also activating using a previous module. So using some diagnostics, figured out the problem and essentially added a trailing bit that'll be discarded, and now it works just fine. And the top module is essentially just a wrapper that instantiates that module, and we'll connect it to the Basys 3 using the 100 megahertz clock, the reset for button C, the 3 NES controller lines, and 8 LEDs, one to represent each button press. Take a look at the XDC, the 100 megahertz clock, just using 8 LEDs for each button. On the controller, button C is the reset, and here's the interface. I'm putting it on PMOD JA, but it's JA 1, 2, and 3, data, latch, and clock. Alright, got the board all programmed up, and I wanted to test it and make sure that the controller now works perfect for building the breadboard one, because the breadboard one should work exactly the same. And so I hook up my Nintendo controller. I've got this connector here that I have glued physically together here, so it's kind of like a PMOD connection for me. I can just plug it in and out. But now I can test all the buttons. So we got button A, B, select, start, up, down, left, right. Now in that last module, every time I was hitting the right button, LED 0 was also activating, as if we were hitting both of these together. So that's why I had to make the change. I don't know where that glitch came from. Was it always there? I don't know. But now I have proper working design that we can test our breadboard controller on. Alright, now we will assemble the breadboard controller. Got a half-size breadboard here. Got 8 buttons. I'm going to use black for the directional, couple of white for start and select, red for the action buttons. Got 8 10K resistors, one for each button. Got a 0.1 microfarad ceramic capacitor here, and this chip right here, this is what makes the NES controller do what it does. And this is a CD4021, I guess you can't see that, CD4021 shift register, parallel in, serial out. So we're going to connect each of the buttons up to this, and then using our FPGA design through signals to this breadboard, it'll control this chip with the latch, clock, and data lines. And I got a bunch of breadboard wires here that I'm going to use to connect everything up. So I'll start assembling it here. Put the left button over here across the channel on the very far side, left side. We'll put a button here on the right side. And then right next to it, put the B button. In the next 3 slots, we'll put the up button here. You gotta put these right next to each other because there isn't a whole lot of room to do otherwise on this board. Once we get everything in, you'll see. So grab that final black button, which is the right button, put it across the channel there, and now we'll put in the shift register. I'm going to put it to where the notch in it is facing to the left. Across the channel, right next to the right button. Press that in. select button, and then the start button. Notice we have one row of pins here. This is where I'm going to put the ground wire to connect both grounds on each side of the breadboard, and use that open area as like a channel. Ground, do the same thing with power. Alright, now we got the board at this point. We're going to connect up all the pull-up resistors for each button based on this chart. And this chart will be in the project files on GitHub. But each button needs a pull-up resistor. And we'll just start by connecting a power rail to each of the pins on the shift register, following this pin out for the register here. So the first one we can connect is pin 1, which is for button A, and that is the very lower left pin down here. Alright, I got all the pull-up resistors put in based on this chart. And next thing I'm going to do is follow the rest of the chart, the bottom part, and connect up the power and the ground for the chip. And also pin 11 just needs to be put into power. Alright, I got the power connected to pin 16 to the power rail. Also pin 11 is tied to VCC or VDD. And then down here VSS, which is the ground according to the chart. Down here on pin 8 connected to this ground rail down here. Next up, we'll start connecting all the buttons to the shift register based on this chart and this pin out again. So from this chart, button A is on pin 1, and pin 1 is in this lower left one here. So for now, some of my white wires were a little short, so I'm just going to use some of these wires. You can clean it up later, but just for testing purposes, I'm going to go ahead and connect down here on this button over to pin 1 there. And the reason why I'm connecting it down here is because pin 1 is on the bottom of the chip. Next up, button B is on pin 15. Pin 15 is up here on the upper part. So I'm going to take a wire from one corner of button B, which is here, and put it over into pin 15. And now once I get all the buttons connected up, I'll return. Alright, now I got all the buttons connected up except for the up and down directional buttons, because for those we need to do something special because they're connected. They need to be connected on one side of the breadboard. So we need to take the button and cut off 2 of these leads. So I'll take my wire cutters here and make sure I go opposite corners. So it doesn't matter which ones. So I'll bend this out a little bit and just snip it off. Turn it around, bend this out, and snip it off. Make sure you don't do it towards your face because that could go into your eye, or while you're doing it, wear safety glasses. That's why I kind of do it off to the side. And now once you snip that, it'll fit perfectly in here. But the problem is it wiggles around. So what I like to do is take some hot glue and put a dab right on the bottom of the button. Like this. Squeeze a little dab on the bottom and then put the button in place before the glue dries. You can put a little pressure down on it sure it gets set in place. The other buttons, they're in there pretty strong. If you start having problems with them jumping out, you can use hot glue. But definitely for the up and down buttons, we need some hot glue. Do the same thing with the down button here. Pull out a couple of leads I'm going to cut. Make sure I cut away from my face. There we go. And now put the hot glue. A little dab will do ya. Put it right in. Okay, so that goes right back in where it was. And now make sure you push it down in so it's making the connection with the metal inside the breadboard. And now we can connect up these buttons based on the chart. We have up going on pin 4 and down going on pin 5. So we can kind of bend that wire out of the way so that we can access the buttons with our thumb and there's no wire in the way. I'll do the same thing with the down. The down goes on to pin 5, which is this one here. Get in there. Okay, you can bend these wires down so they're out of the way. All right. And once the up and down buttons are connected to pins 4 and 5, next thing we need to do is take the other corner of each button and connect it to ground. So we'll start with this left one here. Since we use the pin on the bottom of the breadboard to connect to the shift register, we're going to put the ground in the upper corner, the cross corner up here. And we need to do that for each button. Let's go ahead and take the opposite corner of the button and connect it to ground. Alright, now all the buttons are connected to ground. And notice that if I connected a pin to a button on the bottom side for the chip, the ground needs to go on the opposite side, except for the up and down buttons. Because we cut those, we're connecting the power to the pin and the ground on the same side. Same thing down here. Notice over here, the A button is connected on this lower corner pin down here, so the ground is going on the upper corner pin over here on the opposite side. But once we have this set up, we need to do one more thing, and that is put in the decoupling capacitor. And we can put this across the power and ground rail somewhere over here would be fine. This helps smooth out the voltage for the chip. Okay, from here we have only 3 more pins remaining to connect. And those are the pins that go to the FPGA, the latch, the clock, and the data line. And now what I'm going to do is just use some of these wires here just to get it connected up to the FPGA. But if you wanted longer cables, which I recommend, you could. I thought maybe you could use some of these, wind them up, but that would make your NES controller farther away from your FPGA. But just for testing purposes, I'm going to use these little wires here. So we'll go latch. So we need a latch on pin 9. So I'll use white for the clock, orange for the latch, and green for the data. So latch is on pin 9, which is this corner pin right here. And I want to try and keep these as close to the chip as I can. I would recommend that. And if you're going to connect those wires up, then you can hot glue these wires into the breadboard so they won't pull out. But for testing purposes, I'm just going to stick them in. The clock is on pin 10. And then the data line is down here on pin 3. So So pin 1, 2, 3. And we also need a power and a ground wire. So, and I'm going to put them near the chip. Power is up here on pin 16, and the ground is down here on pin 8. That's why I left space next to the chip. So now all these wires are pretty much the same length. If you were going to set this up, it's like a controller. You could bend these all down and zip tie them together. Like I said, glue them into the board, zip tie them together, maybe glue them in down here as well, and then you can connect what you need here to extend to your FPGA. All right, ready to get this connected to the Basys 3. Went ahead to the XDC file so we can remember which one goes where. But I'll start with power going into VCC, the top left corner on the PMOD here. That's where I'll put in the power, and the ground will go in the very next one. Wired under control. Right. So we've got power and ground, and then JA1 starts from this way, which is data. We said our green is our data. So we'll do the very top right one here on JA1. The next one is latch, which is the orange one. Into the very next pin. And then the clock into pin 3, which is the very next pin. So I have the same exact connections from my actual NES controller. Now what I'm going to do is program this up. We'll test and see if it works with the breadboard controller. Alright, just programmed up the Basys 3 with that exact same design with the real NES controller. Let's walk through the buttons and we'll see each LED light up. Button A, button B, select is next, then start, then up, down, left, and right. So there we have it, working NES controller on a breadboard to use with your FPGA project. Next thing I would do is just clean up these wires, and then create an interface, maybe glue these in to extend these wires out to connect to your FPGA. But see that, you hold it just like a controller. Working pretty good. Alright, I hope you got something out of this video. As always, a link to the project files will be in the video description below, and thanks for watching.